the one, the only Benzion. Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun's Benzion. Today's daf is Masechah Sotah, daf Yud Beis number 12. I'm in honor of having my father along with me to hear my words of wisdom about Iyun. It's not easy to give an Iyun share on. I got it, I'll tell you that. Not easy. Sometimes you have a question which just sticks out. It's a very prominent question, and it's a very difficult question to deal with. The Gemara in Yud Beis and Aleph talks about the story of Moshe's birth. You know, the famous story. What does the pasuk say? Vayelech ish mi beis Levi, Vayikach bas Levi, and the Rashi al Torah and all the Mefarshim explain that this is Amram who went back and remarried Yocheved because he originally separated from Yocheved because if they had a boy, he would be killed. Miriam convinced him to go back, and then seemingly she went back, and they had Moshe Rabbeinu, and the pasuk says that she was able to hide him for 3 months. After 3 months, she couldn't hide him anymore. She had to put him in the Or. And that's how he ended up getting to the house of Paro. Basia came, like the Gemara says. The question is, Rashi says on the Torah, the simple explanation of what happened is that after he remarried her, she conceived, and she had Moshe. So how was she able how were they able to hide him for 3 months? Because it was a premature birth. He was born after 6 months. So the Mitzrim were only looking out for people that were born after they got remarried. So she had an extra 3 months to hide him. But according to the Gemara, it's a totally revolutionary understanding, one that I never thought about until now, and which opposes Rashi. Basically, the Gemara says that really that Yocheved was pregnant with Moshe Rabbeinu before they conceived the first marriage, before they got divorced and then remarried. And then when they got remarried, she was already 3 months pregnant. And it was a full-term baby. Moshe was full-term, 9 months. And after 6 months of being remarried, she gave birth to a full-term baby. And that's why she was able to hide him for 3 months, because they expected him to be born at 9 months. He was born at 6 months, but he was a full-term baby. So all the Mefarshim over here, and Rashi explains the Gemara. Rashi doesn't offer a different explanation in the Gemara over here in Sotah. But yet on the Torah, he has a totally different explanation. The question is, the Mefarshim over here in footnote number 53 over here, the Mefarshim on the Torah, the Mizrahi, where does Rashi get his explanation of the Torah from? I'm not sure. It's a very good question. I'll give you my thoughts, maybe to reconcile Rashi and the Torah with this Gemara, is that really you have to go with the Gemara. The Gemara says what the Gemara says. Right, she was pregnant at that time when they got divorced. They got remarried. At the point she got married, she had Moshe in her womb for 3 months already. The reason that Rashi al Torah says that she was born prematurely is because, this is a lesson for fathers out there. When you have a wife that's pregnant, even when she's not pregnant, you have children. Part of the job of a father is to support his wife during the pregnancy, and the more support that a woman gets during a pregnancy, and certainly after the children are born, people think a father is not important in bringing up children, but you look at families where the child is brought up in a single parent home. It's a very different upbringing for the child. To have the father around is very important. You see now more people are giving paternity leave. It's become more thing. And it's funny, actually. I learned in Israel, and I sit in a kollel there. So there was a guy sitting next to me, had a baby, and he asked the Rosh Kollel how many days he had off from paternity leave. He took off like 5 days. Rosh Kollel said you're only allowed 3 days of paternity leave. He says the other 2 days you're not getting paid for. So I said in front of this guy and the Rosh Kollel, I said, I don't understand. The rest of the world, they give paternity leave. You give it for a month, 2 months. How come you're only giving 3 days? He says, I have a tradition from one of the big rabbis, I think Rav Scheinberg. He said, only 3 days of paternity leave. I said, the rest of the world, they pay at least minimum wage, maybe more. And they're giving off a month for paternity leave. If you don't pay the minimum wage, you're only giving up 3 days for paternity leave. He didn't like what I said, the Rosh Kolel. But the guy next to me, he said, ouch. He said, that must have hurt the... Anyway, the point is that it's important, and certainly during the pregnancy, it's imperative that the husband should support his wife. So Rashi al Torah does not, I don't think, disagrees with that. Only when he says that Moshe was born prematurely, he wasn't born prematurely. He was a full-term baby, like the Gemara says over here. However, because they were divorced for the first 3 months of his pregnancy, presumably that's what happened. They conceived and they were divorced for, let's say, 3 months, and then they got remarried. So the father, Amram, was only together with Yocheved for 6 months. So in that sense, Moshe was premature. He was premature in the fact that the woman did not have the support of her husband for the full 9 months, only for 6 months. Maybe that's what Rashi means on the Torah, that he was a premature baby. He wasn't premature. He gave birth after 6 months. After 6 months of a proper pregnancy, where Yocheved was supported by her husband Amram. What do you think, Dad?
Well, that's interesting. And the other thing unique about Moshe is that he was born completely Nemo.
Yeah.
So how does that connect with what you just said?
Why does it necessarily connect?
Well, I don't know. There seemed to be like a completeness to Moshe.
Even
though he was only 6 months, right?
Yeah,
he still was complete.
Well, I mean,
he didn't even need a bris. I assume it was just a Hatafastam, right?
I'll tell you a story because my father said, I don't you confirm that it's true, that when I was born, also, who was my moel then?
Rabbi Kron, Pesach Kron, the famous Pesach Kron with all the Sfarim.
It was funny because he was getting ready for the bris milah, as my father told me, getting ready for the bris milah. And all of a sudden he gets out the knife, he's ready to do it. And then he's about to do it. He says, Baruch. And then he says, stop. I have to tell you a story. And he told a couple of stories. People were really moved. And then people had to go, but they had to go to work. He said, okay, now I'll do the bris milah. But that's not true. But but what happened is that he basically said that my milah was a very difficult bris milah because there was not much arla, right? Is that true?
Yes, he said you were born almost completely
Nemo. So Moshe Rabbeinu was born completely Nemo, and I was born completely Nemo. Who gives a better Iyun shir? I don't know. I never heard Moshe Rabbeinu give a better Iyun shir. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's shir. We'll see you in the next one.